you. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order at 4:09. Could we do roll call?
Commissioner Carey?
Here.
Commissioner Velasco?
Here.
Commissioner Molina?
Here.
And Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Batterson are absent.
If you had a chance to look at the June 14 meeting minutes, Commissioner Carey and I were the only ones present there,
Yeah.
so could I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion
And
to approve the minutes.
I'll second. Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Go ahead and move on. We don't have any public comment or presentations, so we'll go to new business. Landmark Committee, and we have an action next to that.
Good evening, commissioners. How's everybody? Before we get started, I want to take a minute to introduce a new member of our team. Mr. Smita is not new, but he's been here before. But I would like to introduce Carlos Padilla. He is a new Park Services Officer. He's in field training right now with Corporal Martinelli, so he's out learning the ropes of stuff. So I want to welcome him, thank him for joining us. He's coming to us from Dignity Health and some other law enforcement experience that he's had in his past. So we're happy to have him on board. So welcome.
Welcome.
Congratulations. Okay, so I sent out, and I apologize for sending it out so late, like today, the Landmark Committee recommendations. So, as you know, the council dissolved the Landmark Committee as far as it being a separate committee assigned by the City Council, and the responsibilities for the Landmark Committee were delegated to the Rec and Parks Commission. So, in order to try to kind of figure out how the heck we're going to run this thing, I developed a little bit of an outline for you to consider tonight, and not that we're going to make any decisions tonight, but kind of gathering input, and maybe at our next meeting we'll be able to make some kind of decisions. But when you get past all the required elements that are included in there, down in the discussion section, one of the goals was to try not to make the committee a Brown Act committee, so that we wouldn't have to follow the Brown Act requirements. So your group is already required to follow the requirements. So the idea would be is that a subcommittee of the commission consisting of 2 commissioners would become what I refer to in this memo as the Landmark Advisory Committee. Very similar to how you work with budget or how you work with our partnership committees. They're committees of the commission, and those 2 commissioners are the actual committee, if that makes any sense. Any other participation by anyone else would be basically an open to the public kind of thing, that we would invite the public to the Landmark Advisory Committee meetings, and anyone who has interest in the Landmark Committee agenda could attend, could have be really more of an informal tabletop discussion, very similar to how we do the Tree Committee, where we, just invite people in every now and then to talk about issues or things like that. The problem that the old Landmark Committee used to have was getting a quorum at their meetings and being able to follow the Brown Act requirements. Sheila worked pretty extensively with them for about a year trying to get things back on track, and it just never seemed to click. So this format's a little less structured, but still I think kind of meets the spirit of the municipal code ordinance that directs how it works. So we're looking at appointing 2 commissioners, and they would serve as co-chairs of the Landmark Advisory Committee. That way, if one can't make it, the other one can go ahead and run the meeting. the typo here is it says, meet at least twice per year or more often as the needs arise. And so what happens is, you'll see in the ordinance, someone has to make an application for a landmark, a building, or some other structure, tree, intersection, something. And that application is made to the committee to be considered of historic interest. And there's several degrees of that. I think there's 3 degrees that it can be a point of historical interest. It can be a true landmark. Buena Vista Cabin and Buena Vista Park are true landmarks. Places of interest are the old Paul Nelson, the old City Plunge site next to the Chamber of Commerce area there. There's spaces, but there's really nothing there, but it is a point of interest. So those are kind of the distinction between them. Anyway, so just if you want to take some time and look through this, the duties of the members, and then, like I said, public participation, just kind of throw it out there as an advisory group and see who's interested. In the next section, talks about meetings, and I put down shall meet quarterly. That's kind of where I got a little confused there with, so a minimum of twice a year, but then quarterly would probably be the maximum they would need to meet. We don't get that many requests for landmarks. At least that hasn't been the practice in the past. They'd be a meeting held at the rec department office or some other facility. Myself or someone that is appointed from staff would be the representative from the staff side of it that would provide all the support to the committee, advertising the events, handling the applications for landmark, preparation and documentation of the item for consideration by the committee, and also ultimately taking the committee recommendations and preparing them to come to the full commission. So the structure that I envision here is that the committee would meet, get public input, bring back a recommendation to the full commission, and then the commission actually acts as the landmark committee and actually makes the decision as to whether or not something should be considered as a landmark. There's one part in the code that says that the planning commission should also be involved, and they are to consider basically the location of the landmark and whether or not there's planning considerations there. Example, maybe the zoning is wrong, or maybe the future planning that, like the downtown redevelopment is coming. And so they would be involved because they know what the future holds as far as development goes. So that's the way it's written right now. So if there was a obvious place where there was a potential for development, the commission's recommendation would go to the planning commission for review, and they would review it on that basis. Not so much that whether or not you guys made a good decision, it's really whether or not there's any future plan development in that area or anything that would impact your recommendation to the council. Well, if there is none, then if there's no issue, then your recommendation would go to the council, and council is required to have a public hearing on the matter, and then they make the final decision. So we wouldn't really change too much of the way it is right now at this point in time. However, I did have a conversation with the planning director yesterday, and both of us agreed that the way the ordinance that we sent you is written is really overkill for what we do, and that the suggestion is that planning director and I and the city attorney get together and try to figure out how to streamline the process down. That he doesn't feel the planning commission necessarily needs to be involved, that maybe it's the planning director that as well. I mean, he or she knows what's going to happen planning-wise in the city. Perhaps it's just a review through an administrative review, and we handle it that way. Planning commission agenda gets pretty bogged down, and you know, it can be delayed in something that we're trying to do. I believe that's pretty much it on this. And just open for discussion, anything you would like to see, say, do, change?
Does it have to be a standalone committee? The landmark committee, or can it be part of one of our other, like a duty of?
That's really your discretion, because it's the chair's discretion on what committees that you have. We just call it the Landmark Advisory Committee just for that purpose. It could certainly be Landmark Advisory and Capital Projects or something like that.
I think it should be separate to keep it, I mean, it's coming from a whole landmark committee, and I already think it gets the short stick. And that's a really important committee in our town. It should be anyhow. You know, regardless of how often we would meet, it just seems prudent to keep it as its own committee.
Do you have questions?
One of the things we could look at is the existing committees, and maybe we incorporate a couple of those together.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking at like the Community Partnerships Committee or the, our All-America City Committee is on hiatus. We don't have anybody appointed there, but a lot of what is meant to do there is very similar to this committee.
Sure.
I mean, the Arts Committee, I don't think that's appropriate. So it'd be really the Community Partnerships Committee or combining the All-America and Landmark.
Yeah, that's something we could do we can bring back in, when does that happen? We can do it anytime. That doesn't really matter. Yeah, we could combine those two and then make room for the Landmark Committee as a separate committee.
My only concern with, you'd want us to appoint commissioners now?
Not necessarily today.
Okay.
But at some point, once we move forward, I am not aware of any pending applications for Landmark, so I don't think there's any need to like rush into it.
Okay.
You know, we did have a couple of things going on regarding the Ethel Pope Auditorium and the racetrack. What was it? I don't know. The racetrack at the airport?
Oh, right, the drag strip.
Yes.
Yes.
And the two members that had been appointed to the Landmark Committee want to continue to be involved with it. So we'll have some community members immediately.
Yeah. You know, again, I was thinking we would talk a little bit about it today, maybe look at if there's, right now it's Commissioner Batterson and Commissioner Carey that served as Landmark Committee members. And if they want to continue, then maybe we look at reorganizing them to have a first meeting maybe in September. We're trying to go quarterly to some extent, but maybe in September we can kind of regroup. If you continue, then regroup as a group with these public members that want to come in and help.
I was actually going to text her about it this morning, but I thought, oh, she always gets there early, I'll see her.
Yes, but no.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it'd be ideal if we had a full commission in
Okay.
case another commissioner wants to join. But if we don't need to appoint anybody, then we can just take an action to approve the recommendation as it is, unless anybody has any other comments.
So what we'll do then, if it's okay, is we'll clean this up a little bit more, fix a couple of those minor little errors that are in it, and then bring it back to you as an action item at your August meeting, and then ask you in the report to appoint the committee.
Okay.
So then we can get that done.
Moving on to old business, inclusion plan. Am I looking at the right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Item 6.
Did we skip number 2 on item under
Chair.
new business, Chair and members?
I thought that was for the landmark.
Is that all part of the
yeah.
It's all
landmark
part
committee?
of it, yes.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. You've been previously provided with a very rough draft of an inclusion plan and was hoping to give you the opportunity to review and make edits as you saw appropriate for review. We would like to get an inclusion plan in place, especially for our fall programming as we move forward. I do feel like both divisions do a pretty good job already, but this gives us a further clear direction of how we should be proceeding with programs and activities and events, and just the way we run our day-to-day business. So I hope you've had the opportunity to look at it, and if we need additional time, just let me know. But if there's any comments or suggestions, I'm happy to hear those.
Commissioner Carey?
I'm sorry, I read it 2 months ago when we first did it. I
Maybe you
made
can hit the highlights.
What meeting
Yeah.
was that at?
Yeah, it's
It
been
was-
2 months.
It's been 2 months.
So the big areas, again, the idea behind the plan is to be inclusive of our entire population here, of our residents. And so the big highlights are including bilingual information as much as possible with our existing staff and getting advertising out. As you can see, we've made a concerted effort and some substantial progress in that area, including our recreation guides and most of our marketing pieces, using in-house translators that we have. The other thing is just making sure our signage is appropriate out in the parks, whether it be a no alcohol permitted sign or a come have fun sign. We should be looking at being bilingual in most of those areas. You'll notice, I drive by it, I'm sure most of you do too, Rotary Park has a sign for our pop-up events, both in English and Spanish, so we have been making that effort, even without an approved plan, and something that we're hoping to do with our new marketing and outreach coordinator is really make that effort even stronger to areas that we haven't been strong in advertising to in the past and sharing all of our events and activities in areas where we may not have had the opportunity before. So hitting our local events like the flea market at the fairgrounds and anything on the north side, northwest side that we haven't been able to really get our foot in the door with is the main focus there. That's where we would start, obviously, is making a stronger effort with language, but then moving on into the other categories is very important as well.
And I know this came up during the budget hearing at City Council about how we're reaching out to monolingual or Spanish-speaking communities and if we're doing that, so.
Yeah, we're really lucky. We actually have 3 in-house translators that do receive a little extra in their paycheck for helping us translate hundreds of pages per year of documents. We will continue to utilize them. Sometimes they are on vacation and stuff like that, but the nice thing is having 3 in-house is that we can rotate to, so no individual's getting burnt out as this is just a side project. They're usually assigned in addition to their regular duties. So, and as we see different populations, different communities grow, we may have to take that into account as well. We've talked about other languages that may be developing in our community that we may have to start translating into. We don't have anyone currently that speaks anything other than Spanish, so we'll have to look elsewhere for those translations. But definitely that's one of the strongest points of that plan. But again, it does talk about including everybody in our community.
Yeah, it was surprising to me, just the little niche things, and it's wonderfully thorough. I actually did reread it this morning, and the first time I read it, it seemed so cumbersome, and today it just seemed perfect. So I think it's really good.
One of the things that some of the commissioners might remember was this kind of got kicked off with Commissioner Henderson's comments back, gosh, what was it? Almost 5 years ago, 4 years ago?
Probably.
And I think it's timely. I think it's something that we're seeing across our profession right now being included in everybody's plans and being able to say, here we have an inclusion plan and we're following it. I think that's the other part of it. And that's, I hate plans that just sit on the shelf and you say, oh yeah, we did a plan, but we're not using it. And I think that's one of the challenges in having a plan, and then one of the challenges in having a plan that is extremely detailed. This one is general. I think it provides a framework for staff to work within. And then that makes it flexible enough so that we can actually get the job done. You know, it's not so cumbersome that we're tripping over the content of it. So I think it's a good plan. I think that it ticks all the boxes that are out there now. And I think our community, deserves programs that kind of follow this framework. So.
Commissioner Miller.
We're changing, times are changing, the environment's changing, people are changing, sentiment is changing, so we have to change it.
Yeah. And, one of the items too in here are sports and how sports are conducted and whether, female versus male sports, there's a gender gap, what's going on? There's a lot of stuff that's going to happen, I think, over the next few years related to gender equity in sports. And, frankly, cities really aren't ready for that kind of stuff. I mean, we really don't think about that as an issue for us, but it will be, and I think we should be prepared, and this will kind of help us get ready for it.
I have a question on the measurement and improvement. There's highlighted portions on the plan.
We need to fill in the blanks.
Okay. So is that,
That's something that if okay with the commission, that we would take back to the staff, the supervisory staff, and really look at those blanks and work to come up with a nice quantifiable number that we can judge our progress.
okay.
Under the policy development section 2, the list of stakeholders, I think, is important to who we invite to be, for lack of a better term, our partners in the development of the list, that we make sure we are inclusive just in that group too, that we try to hit enough of the agencies around. And there's plenty of them, so just a matter of, pulling them in.
So you need us to, there's no action on that.
No, so what we would do is move this, will you be ready for an August, or do you want to move to September?
I think we could be ready in August.
So we'll bring it back as an action item for you in August. And if anybody's interested in any input, shoot it off to Dennis so that he can include it. That'd be great.
Okay. Moving on to number 7, budget update.
Good evening, Commissioner Velasco and Commission members. If you refer to the budget page in your packet, this is basically covering the remainder of this last fiscal year through June 30th. And managed to stay under budget, barely, but we did. Some notable items to notice, and this I think will continue to just part of the norm, is the swimming pool. We exceeded by 117,000. We have tried to budget next year to cover the increase in costs of water and energy and everything else CPI related. So we're trying to play catch up with that. But otherwise, we've managed to stay pretty close to within budget on the other items.
And where's that coming from? We're over budget.
Do you mind? So you'll see as the total department budget is in the black. So we'll take from the other divisions to cover that.
Do we have enough?
Yes. So we're still under budget as of, was this printed? So since the day this was printed today, it shows that we're 2.92% under budget. That will probably fluctuate before the total year-end wrap-up. All the invoices for the year are due to accounts payable by June 30th. So I expect this actually to be closer to a 2% savings. That 2% will help cover that additional expense.
Okay. Thank you. Item B, noteworthy, is in our packets. And C, Director's Report, Staff Accomplishments.
Yes, so, yeah, we have some things to talk about. First off, I want to thank Commissioner Milena for his work over at Elks Field. Thank you very much for getting us some roofs on our dugouts, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Not done yet.
Well, it's in progress, it's good. Also want to ask Corporal Martinelli to stand up for a second. So, back in April's already, so I got this letter from Police Chief Schneider. And this letter is in recognition of this is addressed to Officer Martinelli. This letter is addressed to recognition of your actions on October the 18th, 2021. On this day, Santa Maria Police Officer Andy Bryce responded to a man down call near Broadway and Main Street. The male was later identified as Frankie Aguilar. Officer Bryce discovered that Aguilar was unresponsive and not breathing and began providing CPR in an attempt to save his life. After one round of CPR, Officer Martinelli arrived to assist. Officer Martinelli assessed the situation and quickly retrieved his AED device. Officer Bryce was performing CPR and Aguilar was still unresponsive. Officer Martinelli and Officer Bryce worked in conjunction with one another. Officer Bryce performing CPR and Officer Martinelli deploying the AED. Eventually, Aguilar began breathing again, at which point medical support had arrived and taken over. Aguilar was transported to Marion Hospital for treatment. He survived the incident and received much-needed cardiac care. The immediate decisions made by Officer Martinelli and Officer Bryce were, without question, pivotal and invaluable amidst a highly stressed and dynamic situation. Officer Martinelli is to be commended for his efforts. Sincerely, Mark Schneider, Chief of Police. Thank you, Brian. Great job. Wow. There have been other instances where having our individuals trained, our officers trained, and having them have the equipment in their vehicle that made life differences, even with one of our own officers. Mm-hmm. So it's great to get this kind of a letter from the chief. I mean, I'm sure it all got documented on a daily log somewhere, and Brian just filled out his paperwork and turned it in. And but deserves accolades. I mean, anytime you're able to save somebody's life, that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. So thank you, Brian, very much. It moves to the validity of our program, and the need to really have the program. Most police officers don't carry an AED in their vehicle, so who knows? That could have made the difference in those 2 to 5 minutes that it took for emergency help to get there. So we do play a critical role in that first responder situation. So anyway, I wanted to share that.
And thank you also, because we get the monthly and year-to-date statistics for what the Rangers are doing, and who all out there are doing a lot. So I know it's an asset in our city, to our department, that's our law enforcement department that can't always get to certain calls. So thank you so much.
Also, Scott Christian. Scott, as you all know or should know, when he's here, he's the tree guy. So Scott has completed his International Society of Arboriculture's certificate as a tree risk assessor. And what that means is he's gone through specialized training and certification to assess the condition of trees and make decisions that will keep them safe. Certainly they're a living thing, so you can't prevent everything, but he's been able to diagnose issues with trees and come up with remedies, either treatments or removals or trimming or whatever it takes. So Scott's recognized for receiving his his assessor qualifications. So that's there. Mr. Smitherman recently went through the Certified Park and Recreation Professional Certification. It's a national standard for all parks and recreation professionals who want to be at the forefront of their profession. Attaining a CPRP designation shows that the individual has met education and experience qualifications and illustrated a commitment to the profession, as well as knowledge and understanding of the key concepts within our profession. So I want to recognize Dennis for that. And also, Dennis is, from what I know in the general area, probably one of a handful of people who've gone through the certification process. So it's not something that it's a time commitment. You have to take an exam. You have to be able to communicate your skill sets. So and very few people take the time to do it. So I want to congratulate Dennis on receiving it and for taking the time to follow up on the commitment to do it. So congratulations.
Thanks for sharing that.
Congratulations there, Dennis.
Dennis, do you want to do the recreation report?
Yeah, I'm really excited to share with you all commissioners about our summer. It's going swimmingly, yes, pun intended. You know that we had talked about it earlier this year, that the expansion of Recreation Swim to every day of the week really has, I'm going to do it again. The numbers have blown us out of the water. Sorry. I don't know where they're coming from. The community obviously enjoys Recreation Swim every day. The pool is packed every day between 1 and 3. It's just great to go out there and see just everybody having a really great time. We're also able to accommodate that time lap swim.
Thank you,
And
guys.
so those adults that still want to have the exercise portion of the pool still can do that while we open it up to the public for Recreation Swim too. So if you're in the area and want to swing by in the afternoon, it's a great time. The weather's been just near perfect for it, and not too hot, not too cold, and it's a nice heated pool. So I also wanted to let you know that we are working with the Guadalupe School District for swim lessons. We have 300 students going through swim lessons at Pioneer Valley High School through a grant that they received this year. So we're really excited to be partnering with someone outside of the city and being able to utilize those partnerships we have with the school districts to utilize the pools during the summertime. So that's been going really great as well. Our summer staff are doing good. We've had only one incident so far, and someone breathed some water through a snorkel and caused some choking factors. So they were able to get her out safely. And she was conscious the whole time and just a little shaken up. So I just want to remind everyone how important lifeguards are. These guys, these young men and women are just doing an amazing job. If you go out there, they don't always see me. Sometimes I'm spying on them from the youth center. I know Rudy checks on them from his office. They are really attentive, and it's not an easy job. It's a little bit scary of a job sometimes. So if you do see them doing a good job, please thank them. We're also kicked off with our summer youth sports. We have Junior Giants that had opening day last weekend. We have about 325 kids, all youth, signed up for Junior Giants, which is a non-competitive league for youth t-ball and baseball. It's great to watch. They're out at Hagerman on Saturdays playing. All sponsored by Junior Giants, and Christian Cardenas, who has really spearheaded this program this year, just took a job with the school district to become a teacher. Good for him, sad for us. So we are looking for a new program specialist to oversee youth sports. So if you know anybody, please send them our way. We also have our first volleyball clinic of the year, again full, with about 50 students running through that in a 4-day volleyball clinic. And our newest addition is junior golf, working with Santa Maria, I'm going to mess this up, Rancho Santa Maria Golf Course. And we are working with their foundation and Play to provide free golf, 1-day golf lessons for youth out at the golf course. It's it's a great sport for them to get involved with. We've been full every time we've run the clinic. We'll be starting our 6th one this month. So over the past couple months, we've had some very full programs. There's a minimal fee. It's $5 per youth. They get lunch and pretty much a full day of golf lessons. And the fee is actually only in place to encourage attendance. We have found that with a lot of our free programs, we get a lot of signups, and then on the day of, they don't show up. So there's a small fee for a little bit of buy-in, but it's definitely worth the $5. As we've talked about before, if anybody's not able to participate due to finances, we do have funding available to assist them with that. And adult basketball, just kicked off our adult basketball league, full league, playing most nights of the week. I don't know if Commissioner Velasco remembers, adult basketball is probably one of the most challenging sports that we can run from the Y. I don't know if she remembers that experience, but
Wasn't tall enough.
there's always issues. So we're dealing with those issues as they come to us head on, and just making sure that we're having good cooperative sports in our adult leagues as well. So for the fall, we're starting some new programming. We will be running a youth soccer league. Really excited about the youth soccer league. We're taking a little bit different twist than just your traditional soccer league. We're going to be integrating some value-based coaching in there as well. Eduardo, our recreation coordinator, and some of his staff have taken some training available by Fighting Back to really integrate more value-based approach into coaching and teaching kids about those values as well. It's not very common out there. I only know of one other agency in the city that does that with youth sports, so we're excited to expand that. It's not just going to be a normal soccer league. We do anticipate it to be quite full. The fee is about half of what the next least expensive provider offers. So we know that a $40 fee for the season is very reasonable, and again, we do have financial assistance available for those who may need it. So we're excited to be offering that for the first time.
What's the age range on that, Dennis?
We're going 5 and up to teens, so we won't hit teens yet.
Oh.
5 to 12.
How many leagues are we going against in the fall?
Yeah, so we do have, there's not a lot of competition. We do have 3 to 4 different groups out there. We've already addressed this with them. Again, those other leagues are looking for club players, or we're looking for your entry-level players, and so the market's a little bit different.
Okay.
And so we don't feel like we're in direct competition, and again, in conversation with those other leagues, they don't feel like we're competition either,
Okay.
so we were prepared. That's the big recreation highlights for the summer, and we will get you more information about fall programming. It is being all updated right now. We will have another digital recreation guide go out for fall and winter programming, which has been a big hit for us this year and quite a big cost savings. So we're happy to see that as well. And then that will also be bilingual.
Good. I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Commissioner Carey.
Just the Guadalupe Swim Kids, is that like a renewable grant, or is it something that we can?
Yeah, we didn't write that grant. They actually received the grant and partnered with us, so we're so lucky to be able to assist them. We're excited. They're really, those water safety instructors is what we call our swim instructors, are doing a great job with such a diverse group of kids, and having to use bilingual skills at times. So it's been really great to see, and it's just really exciting. I do want to throw, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
Commissioner Carey, one other thing that we didn't bring up, and I don't know if it got brought up at the last meeting. The city did receive more than $500,000 in grant funding for an outdoor education program for youth and families. The program is called SMORE, Santa Maria Outdoor Recreation Experience. And so we're going to be able to offer over the next 3 years some amazing trips and opportunities for youth, teens, and families to be out in nature, learn about nature, and do some great activities. Some of the activities include horseback riding or whale watching, but also doing some ecotourism out at the Anacapa Islands and taking care of, any kind of litter cleanup or anything we can do as far as assisting in the capacity that the teens are able to. So we're really working on moving that forward. That was announced end of May, beginning of June. So we have hopefully our first program in some capacity will kick off in August. And again, that's a 3-year project with more than $500,000 available for outdoor education. And we're super excited about it. So I'm sorry.
Oh, I just have, and this isn't even like pertinent, but it's called Rancho Maria. And do they feed them hot dogs? Because those are the best hot dogs I've ever had. I'm not kidding you. Seriously. Better than the Dodger Stadium ones.
I better take a note on that, Rancho.
They cut them and grill them?
Yeah.
I mean, they're to die for.
Really? I think they just get brown bag lunch, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, all the responses from the parents, this is really new, this partnership, and so that program is kind of like our Ride 3 off-highway motor vehicle safety program that every time we offer it, it fills up to the point where we've actually had to put on the brochure that, sorry, you're only allowed to attend one per family, one child per family can attend one session because kids keep wanting to come back and retake it. So unfortunately, we will have probably close to 100 kids go through the golf program this summer. And then we kind of have to turn them over to the golf course to hope that they can continue playing golf. But yeah, it's so popular that we have to limit it.
What's the age range for that?
That one's all the way through 12 to 14, so 7 and up, 7 to 14-ish.
Not 2 years and up? Oh.
No.
You know, my youngest son got offered multiple college golf scholarships, starting at Rancho Maria.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he didn't take them, but that's another story.
That's the hot dogs. That's the nexus there. So yeah, again, some really fun programming this summer.
That's awesome. We'll go ahead. Is there anybody here for operations report or
Yeah.
anything?
I'm going to just jump in really quick and talk a little bit about water savings, because that's our buzzwords for the day. How are we saving water in the parks and doing the best we can? I can tell you that there's been a list of areas that have been identified that are not used specifically for recreation. So that's one of the very first criteria we looked at in water reduction. We're looking to say between 20 and 25% to reduce our water usage by 20 to 25%. We do think this is a very reasonable benchmark to hit. It's still aggressive, don't get me wrong, but we think that we're going to be able to do it through some renovation, well, actually a lot of renovation, and really looking at the most used areas of the parks and some of those areas that are not used, like the parkways, and making sure that we can reduce to meet the goals. So some of the projects we're looking at is all this turf in front of City Hall. That's not used for recreation, so you don't see kids playing on there. There's no playground or basketball hoops or anything like that. It's kind of just, for the lack of better words, dead space. So with the recent budget approval, we do have funding to renovate that area. So water was turned off there last week, and so you might start to see that yellow a little bit. You'll notice with the weather lately, it's been fairly calm, not too many hot days, so it may take a little bit longer, but we're working on the final plan, the landscape plan, and we'll get out there and renovate that area to a more water-friendly staging area. So then, in addition, Commissioner Carey, who sits on the Public Art Committee, will be looking at some artwork for that library wall as well. So just a heads up on that. Some of the other areas are all the parkways on Cook and McClellan. So the parkways, anything on the street side of the sidewalk, all that grass and turf area. There are some areas that you'll see, especially in front of the pool house, what we call the pool house where the swim club meets, that will continue to leave green because they do use that for recreation, for warm-ups, for stretching and all that. So you'll see that stay green, but a lot of that green area will be renovated along McClellan Street. The Grogan parking lot island, do you want to identify that one? It's the Grogan parking lot island. I'm trying to think of it in my head too.
Probably just a piece of grass in the
Yeah.
parking lot?
Just a random parking lot. So again, mostly, getting that out of there and making it more water-friendly. Manami, the medians and the parkway, and then Town Center West, there's some turf areas over there that we're looking at renovating. So overall, the goal, again, would be to reduce water by 20 to 25%. That's not inclusive of just this, but it's just lowering water to the level where the turf can still live, but getting it down to right at that point. And it may cause a little stress, so if you see yellow spots, we'll try to turn the water back up a little bit and have to play with it. So Mario Ioki and Scott Christian have their work cut out for them to keep an eye on it, that all as well. One of the things we're working on is, Scott will be working on as well, is really identifying the cost associated with these projects, also the total water savings and the funding that was saved, but also if we do get into a time where we have to reduce even for the potential cost to rebuild those areas as well. So you'll see those reports in future meetings. So again, we are starting this as of last week, so keep your eyes open for recreation areas that have dead grass, because we want to avoid that.
Thank you.
Leave anything out? Oh, I'm sorry, no, other park operations. I was focused on water. We talk a little bit about upcoming projects. So we have Chapel Plaza well underway. It looks like a lot of the infrastructure is in place. We're looking for an opening date in October. I hope so, because that's kind of when we're tentatively planning our first event out there. So we're excited that Chapel Plaza is well underway. We talked about the Vets project today, Vets Memorial project today. Again, just finalizing the plans on that, and it looks really good to move forward. We hope to go to bid in the next couple of months for that. Again, finalizing the last details of the plan. There's a lot to look at. Then I'm trying to think what other projects we talked about. We talked about so many today. Prescott Park Trail. Again, one last little thing we need to look at, and that's where we're connecting the water source. But that looks like it's moving forward. A decision was made, and we'll just continue to progress on that. We do have banners up at Prescott Park letting walkers know that a trail is coming. So it's not a surprise when we ask them once the trail is open to use the trail and not the road. So it's going to be a great project. We're looking at adding some other amenities there as well. We have the Battles Road Beautification project, which we're excited about as well, looking at adding some new elements there. So the Battles Road project will be a meandering path. So it's not going to be this straight line path. It's really just boring. It's going to have some activity areas. It'll have art and different components. And one of the things we're talking about is in those activity areas, it doesn't make sense to put quiet activities like chess tables and things like that. So we're looking at spicing it up a little bit with wheeled activities and potentially some skateboard activities, some biking activities right on the trail. They're going to be out there anyway. So let's utilize that space for those people using the bike trail.
Yeah, rollerblading.
Some nice little, yeah, yes, undulation and meandering, keywords for today. So those are the big projects that are moving forward right now. We have a lot of projects on the table. Some of them we'll see some movement on, but actually not any groundbreaking until next year even. So the big project for the Aquatic Center, some new filtering equipment. Again, all of these are taking time, and so we're looking to phase them in as best possible with the limited staff, not only with our department, but with the Public Works Department as well. So you see Brett, tell him to hurry up with all the parks projects,
Got it.
okay?
So just a quick interjection on some things there. So at the last commission meeting, we talked about the budget and what we had, submitted in the budget process, and that we had a general idea of what we were going to receive. So we have those finalized. So one of the things that maybe I can ask Neville to do at our next meeting is kind of go through what projects were approved and, what we're going to be moving forward on. I'm just doing like a pencil sketch on things. So roughly, we have about $10 million in projects that are capital driven. Then you add in projects like the the Battles project alone is like $2.8 million for a beautification project. Enos, the Smith Enos House and the Japanese Community Center are easily in the $6 to $8 million range for those projects. So there's just tons of things happening. We had a good meeting today with Public Works and with our consultants out there, the architects and the engineers. So these projects are moving. It's going to be an extremely busy year this year. I mean, it was busy last year. It's going to be busier this year. And the fact that we're able to pump out these projects, that in itself is a miracle because there's just so many things going on. And again, the other fact is that it's generally not our money. I mean, it's not the city's general fund dollars. It's coming from other sources. So minor contributions of matches and those kinds of things that we have to do. But, you know, in the long run, again, the council has just committed itself to providing these facilities. Maintenance is a whole other issue, but as far as getting these things constructed and moving forward, you know, they're going to be coming, you know, so it's great. If I could interject another agenda item, kind of, not really. I want to go ahead and we'll put up the screen. So I asked Sheila to kind of recap and presentation kind of what we have done on your participation meetings that we had, the community meetings. And so we took what input that we got and we kind of broke it down. And we had that questionnaire, you might recall, and this was the question at the top. And then here's kind of the percentages of answers that we got back from people. The effort that I wanted to do was to take this information, put it side by side with our leisure assessment and see, is the leisure assessment still valid? This is really like taking the temperature of the community. Obviously, we didn't get, you know, a statistically valid number of responses, but, you know, in general, I think we hit a core group that represents our population out there. So I'm not going to walk through these, but if you can take a look at them and you can see what seems to be important. And this one is family recreation activities. And again, that mirrors what the leisure needs assessment told us. Going to switch to the next one. And what keeps our groups or our individuals from coming to participate? Surprisingly, it's the timing of the activity. So that kind of tells us that maybe we need to start looking at different times on when we offer things. I think sometimes a lot of our programming gets dictated to like the after school hours, or, you know, maybe they need to go later, or maybe they need to go earlier, maybe they need to be on a Saturday. You know, areas that we've typically avoided for whatever reason, usually because of staff-driven issues, you know. Cost isn't a factor, which was kind of cool, and, you know, safety, you know, people, tells me that people are generally feel safe at coming to our activities. And the lack of facilities, the lack of outdoor space is, again, something that came out in the leisure needs assessment, that we need more outdoor facilities, you know. Go ahead, Neville. And again, just, it's almost like a third, and a third, you know, really, when you look at it. Next. Yeah, so I guess we're supposed to offer more festivals and concerts and stuff.
Downtown.
I think
Have a
Commissioner
park.
Carey filled out the form a few times.
Or Dennis. Arts and-
You know, car shows and, you know, that was kind of interesting. I mean, and again, I think the sample wasn't really, like I said, statistically valid. But yeah, again, I think this is probably what I would guess most people would have an interest in.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult would it be to add these questions to the registration act?
Active doesn't have a survey style module to it. It would be completely voluntary if they wanted to answer.
Follow a link?
We could add that.
So maybe what we could do is I'm thinking of the categories that we have, and maybe we have people's emails. Maybe we survey monkey them and send out the questions and just give them these categories and say, these seem to be where, I know Dennis went through and tried to pick out where all the responses were, if we were able to use these, same as a checkoff box, and then they can just turn it in. Maybe we can work on a survey monkey, something like that.
We're trying to get more feedback.
Yeah. Next slide. Festivals. Car shows were the big one, though. That was a big one with 14% of car show people. We must have been somewhere around there. Parades, I don't know about those either, so.
So I just read that in Spanish. It said paredes, huh? What is that?
Concerts, I thought would go higher, and I don't know what they were talking about, concerts, but,
Concerts in the park?
well, it's just concerts.
We don't have concerts here.
I know.
Yeah, we do at the Alps.
This is your
Unitop.
favorite. This is talking about your favorite community events.
Yes. Oh, okay. So not necessarily community events held in Santa Maria. So only 6% are interested in summer concerts, it looks like.
Well, it could also just be like concerts that they have at the Fair Park, out in Macau,
Yeah.
the restaurants around town.
Next slide.
Wow. Dennis, this was definitely you.
How do you get those numbers up so high? That was the question.
Nobody else has had that high of a percentage.
Well, again, I think the question was pretty specific, but again, I think that most people in town appreciate some type of art and some type of art that they can enjoy passively, just walking down the street or driving down the street or whatever it is they're doing. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with you on that respect. So, well, 15% of the people apparently. But, yeah. What can the city do to encourage you to plant trees in your yard? This is a Scott question, but it's also just a general environmental question. Yeah, just give us a tree and plant it and we'll take care of it. The issue has been in the past that, we say, oh, well, you need to plant the tree, you need to plant it here, we just give them a tree and say, here's, plant it in your yard somewhere, Do we really care if it's?
With the new perimeters, though, so that's
Yeah,
not. right by the
exactly,
side,
yeah. Do we really care if they plant it in their backyard?
No.
Doesn't really matter to us, I don't think. It's getting that canopy numbers up. Next slide. Blank, my favorite one. Yeah, so I want to thank Sheila and Dennis for working on those numbers and getting them done. And again, it's not a statistically valid comments, but I wanted you to see that the efforts of having the meetings, we did get some input. And I like the idea of doing a follow-up survey with some of our other customers. That's good. Obviously, they're already involved, so they're going to be, it's not random by any means.
Right.
But, we can certainly see what the information comes back like.
Also, we can piggyback off the county's survey that they're doing. They've surveyed so many local, Santa Maria local people that we'll be able to take their survey, delineate our zip codes, and really see what our community's interested in as well. And they were here, they finally finished last week. They went to Hagerman, they went to the dog park. They've been all the way up to Vallarta to Hagerman, surveying just hundreds, if not thousands of people here. So we'll be able to glean off their information as well.
Nice. Okay.
That's it for us.
So we'll go ahead and open it to commissioners if they have any official business or community interest items. Commissioner Malena?
Just a few things.
Few things, I got a list of 10.
Basketball, the adult basketball program, great success. Been there last Friday. Watch young men, gentlemen, and women out there. Basketball is great output for those guys. They're interested, a lot of them talk about outside lights, facilities. The new facility, the building has 4 lighted basketball courts, isn't it? So we talk about that a lot. Mr. Lieberman with the disc golf, we got that email.
Yeah, we did meet with Mr. Lieberman and some other key players in the disc golf group, and we're working on a plan to redo some of those tees, signage, and so forth. So we'll keep you in the loop as far as any progress that's made on that.
Okay. Out there with the soccers, we have really missed the schools like Pioneer with the facilities. If we made any progress on that with getting with the schools district and opening up theirs to the community?
Dennis has a meeting scheduled with the business manager, the business assistant superintendent of business at the high school district to kind of start talking about where we're going to go with partnerships. Facility access is one. Our swimming pool contract is another. Access to transportation, to the school bus, like during the summer, getting access to school buses for our trips and things, because our numbers are growing. We don't, we can run a van here and there, but that's 10 kids, so it really makes more sense if we were able to, in the old days, I can go back 30 years, we used to have access to the high school district buses in the summer and paid for the driver and paid for the bus and, willing to do something like that again. So yeah, it's time to work more closer with them, and those will be one of the topics that we talk about is field access and how to work with it.
Good.
Yeah, I think it was one of their football and everybody else, one of their main problems right now, not be able to use the schools, And that would help them a lot in their practicing.
Yeah.
Not really the games, but mostly just practice,
With the elementary district, we haven't set up any discussions, so only with the high school district right now, so something we can talk to.
Yeah, elementary is that one, like Tommy Coons, Fessler, we used
Yeah.
to practice out there. They got big Bill Libben.
Yeah, we'll talk to their assistant superintendent of business, Mr. Beecher.
I talked to Dennis, we talked about a 50-70 field at Seamus Park for the mediation. Roy Grandy just waiting to mediating for 12 and 13-year-olds now. It's a different type of field, and it could be set up. We have one field available at Seamus Park that we can possibly make in there to offer 100 boys and the city and the community mediation between Babe Ruth and League. So we talked about that. Elks Field, we did some renovations out there. Still in the process, got a lot of work to do out there on the dugouts. 4th of July, thank you for the invite, but I had front row seats at Miami Center. They had a pretty good show over there. But all in all, it's a great job everybody's doing. So really involved Dennis with the city and Alex. You gotten some stuff in there, so thank you guys for helping out.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Carey?
Yeah, official business, the Friday, June 17th, we had the counter plan master Zoom, which Dennis kind of touched on what was going on with them, that they're almost to the end of the huge process that they've been gathering information countywide. That'll be really interesting to see everything. The 27th was the downtown committee. That was the big one where we got the proposal for the Town Center West, the former Fallas store building, and I'm sure everybody read all the information in the news. If you have any questions, I can probably answer them. Thursday, July 7th. Oh, last week we had the Arts Council discussion, which was very, very well attended and a really good citywide event. Community interest items. So Jim May Park. So we've had these pelicans, and I mentioned it, I always mention it because they're so beautiful. If you guys haven't been to see them, you should. But I don't know if it was the fireworks or what, but now there's over 40 of them. It's remarkable. They're gorgeous, and they're so just beautiful. But there's kind of an issue. I just need to bring it up because you guys are here. But, we had 2 fires right across the levee, and so the water was taken from the lake at Jim May. So now the pelicans are all like standing. You can literally see them standing, they're like, the water's like right to here on them. So I'm wondering if that water's going to be replaced anyway, or who would probably throw that out to someone.
Yeah, so that's ag tailwater. So the water that comes from the fields east of town runs to that collection channel along the 101 and then flows into Jim May. So, yeah, as long as the ag fields are watering, then that will continue to have water. I'm not sure where they are right now crop-wise, but once they get crops going, you'll see more
Okay,
ag
good.
runoff.
Because those poor guys are just all standing there.
Yeah.
And we got turtles again. I hadn't seen turtles there in years, and there's this whole month I've seen like 3 at a time.
Huh.
Yeah, it's really,
So people are still dropping off their turtles.
I don't know.
That's,
but it's cool
that's
to
the only
see
way
them.
they get there, yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
no, I don't have. I only eat
Or-
pizza.
You know,
I just think
those
that's
goldfish that you get your kids at the fair and you want to get rid of them, they probably end up at Jim May Lake. So
It's okay.
we are going to be doing an aeration project there. That was one of the approved projects. So we'll be adding an aerator, which will make the marine life be a little bit more viable there. So we won't get that,
Healthier.
the kill, you know,
Yeah.
from the algae.
Good.
So
When will that be?
we didn't add it to our project. so-
It is, it's
Next
the
year.
next fiscal year, so yeah,
not this year
23, 24,
Yeah.
Okay.
not immediate.
Oh, and I haven't spoken with other commissioners, and I'm not speaking for them, but I probably am by saying this, is that the Commissioners Grove sign at Jim May Park is peeling really badly. Just, I don't know who takes care of that.
Dennis.
It's just not looking.
We're
so
reviewing
hot.
all the signs, and we're reviewing and auditing all the signs. I noticed one at Vets yesterday, they had graffiti and it's peeling as well.
Yeah, it's
so-
funny how they do.
Yeah, so just please continue to bring it to our attention, and we're getting our list put together.
Okay. And my last thing is community interest. It's the annual painted chair raffle opens Saturday at the Town Center East. This year we got this, it's Friends of the Library, and we got the store. It's a really small one, but it's cool. It's right across from Gina's Piece of Cake. So, yeah, it's like a really good location. And so, yeah, that's coming up. You know, I have a question, though. Is there a report on the drone situation and how that did?
Yes.
Do we have, I was hoping you,
I think you got shot down.
which one?
The 4th of July drone.
Yeah, we had a report on Monday from the fire chief, and so they did contract to have a drone fly the city that had the GPS system all in it. The problem was that the fog rolled in, and it is an aircraft just like anything else, and so it was not able to take off from the airport because of the low cloud level that we had. I think it was a 100-foot ceiling at the airport. And certainly if any of you came out to the 4th of July, you'll know, yeah, it was about a 100-foot ceiling because
bad.
we had a lot of pink and blue and green clouds light up at our show. So that's one issue. So very limited, well, no success at all with the drone because it couldn't fly. Enforcement-wise, again, that left it to the regular street cop thing, and that didn't really garner anything. But it was, comments that I've heard anyway from people is that it's probably worse than last year. So, it's something.
Did they patrol prior to the 4th?
Yes, those were a little bit easier, but the drone wasn't here prior to the 4th. We didn't get it until the 4th, so.
I thought they did it before, because.
Yeah, I think it may have flown on the 3rd, it may have been here kind of test flying and things. Because they do have a couple of pictures out there, I think, so,
Okay,
yeah.
maybe next year.
Just want to reiterate an email you sent about supporting Special Olympics during the month of July. So if we can shop at Albertsons or Vons and then, support with a donation, and that just, so it's out there in the minutes and the YouTube video. Wanted to thank anybody that came out and supported the Play Fireworks booth, especially staff that volunteered, Bianca McNeil, Evelyn Marroquin, and Eddie Estrada. Alex, Dennis, Terry Zuniga, thank you so much for volunteering time out there. I think it was a great partnership, Museum of Light for Play. I got to finally visit the market at the youth center. went and bought burritos for my coworkers, and they were a big hit. So encouraging people to go out and support the youth and their great meal market that they have. So
They have
that's it.
burritos now?
They have breakfast burritos,
Oh,
and they're
breakfast burritos. I look
delicious.
for the deep fried burritos.
They do as well, maybe not right now, but breakfast burritos, yeah. But with that said.
Wait, I have one more, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Good Lord. The
I
market's
forgot to
nice.
write it. So probably everyone's already seen this week's Trees of Santa Maria post, but if somebody hasn't seen it yet, it showcases the black poplar trees behind the Maldonado Youth Center. They're beautiful trees. So it's a city trees, so I just thought you guys might be interested.
Back
And
to
those
the
trees-
market. Back to the market.
No,
Back to the
after
market. It's
the-
nice in there, huh?
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, I was shopping in there the other day.
Every kid's dream.
Snickers, nobody knew I bought one.
All right, so we'll go ahead and adjourn. Yeah, we'll adjourn to August 9th at 4 PM.
Thank you.
Thanks.